hospital was never truly quiet, not even in the dead hours before dawn. Machines hummed and lights buzzed. Somewhere far down the hall, a patient coughed into the darkness. But Dr. Mara Keene had learned that after 3 a.m., there was a different kind of sound. She first noticed it while finishing charts one lonely Tuesday morning. From the abandoned operating theater, OR6, shuttered decades ago, came the distinct clink of metal instruments. At first, she thought it was maintenance, but when she listened closer, she heard voices, calm and clipped commands. Scalpel, clamp, retractor. She froze. No one was assigned to that wing. The doors had been locked since before she was born. And yet, when she crept to the viewing gallery, the frosted glass of OR6 glowed with surgical light. She pressed her face to the pane, but the room was empty. The next night she came back. She told herself it was curiosity, but the truth was simpler. She needed to know. At precisely 3:07 a.m., the light bloomed again. This time, figures flickered into being beneath the operating lamp. Doctors and nurses in outdated scrubs, their faces half obscured by surgical masks. They moved with uncanny precision, instruments flashing under the light. On the table writhed a patient, their eyes rolling beneath the mask. The cries of pain echoed faintly, muffled but raw. Mara's breath fogged the glass. She should have run, but her hands gripped the rail, her heart hammering as she watched each careful incision. She scribbled notes in her pocket journal, diagrams appearing faster than her conscious thought. When she finally looked down, she noticed the handwriting wasn't hers. The older nurses whispered when she passed. Everyone knew the stories. That decades ago, OR6 had belonged to Dr. Holloway, a brilliant but ruthless surgeon. His miracles were whispered about in medical journals, though his patients had a troubling tendency to vanish. They said he had kept operating long after death had claimed him. Mara laughed it off in daylight, but when night fell, she was drawn back to the room like a moth to the flame. And on the 7th night, she made a choice. She entered OR6. The air inside was colder than the morgue. The surgical lamp flared to life above her, flooding the room in sterile white. Around her, the ghostly staff materialized, masks gleaming, eyes faintly glowing behind gauze. The lead surgeon, tall, skeletal, his movements exact, finally turned his gaze on her. "Dr. Keene," he said. His voice was hollow, echoing from a long corridor of time. "We've been waiting for you." Her legs wouldn't move. Instruments rattled in their trays, the air filling with the sting of ether. Invisible hands guided her backward until the metal of the operating table pressed cold against her spine. "No, please," she whispered, but the words died in her throat. "Scalpel," the surgeon said. A blade glinted above her. Mara thrashed, but the ghostly orderlies pinned her down, their grips like iron. The first cut seared her chest, white-hot agony ripping through her. The light overhead blurred as tears filled her eyes. Clamp, retractor. Her own blood spilled warm against the cold table. She screamed until her voice broke, until the sterile air swallowed every sound. The masked faces leaned in closer, their movements calm, and then nothing. The next morning, OR 6 was empty. The table gleamed as if it had never been touched. The instruments lay neatly arranged, silent and sterile. Dr. Keene's badge and notebook were discovered at the nurses' station, but she was never seen again. Weeks later, an archivist combing through old records stumbled upon something strange. In the surgical logs from the 1940s, the era of Dr. Holloway, there was a new final entry written in crisp, practiced script. Subject, Dr. Mara Keene. Procedure, ongoing.